Hi, I'm Christine Pini, and I am here with Will Allanson from Farmers Insurance. And Will is here. You're welcome, and thank you for being here. Will is here to tell us a little bit about what a new homeowner or what a new home buyer needs to know about home insurance. And what can you share with someone who's out there looking for a new home or possibly in contract?
Sure, thank you. That's a great question, Christine. One of the things that we've run into a lot with new home buyers is that you've got so much going on, there's so much paperwork to deal with, and what people tend to think of insurance is, I want to find the company that I can pay the least amount of money to in the easiest way possible so that I can get my loan and move on with my house. And in reality, what they need to be thinking about is almost like you're interviewing those potential insurance companies. Who's going to pay you the most if you ever need to use your insurance?
Yeah, people aren't thinking that. They're not thinking the long run. They're thinking the immediate. They just want to close the deal. But really, it's exponentially beneficial for them to be really thinking about the long term. And here in Santa Cruz, we have such a unique market. So working with somebody local is going to be really important.
Absolutely, yeah. And what happens a lot is people, when they move here, maybe they had a previous agent or a previous company, and they figure, oh, well, I'll just roll my new house into that. But what we're finding is that, as you mentioned, Santa Cruz is a very unique market. A lot of home insurance companies anticipate that the reconstruction cost for a house is going to be $200 to $250 per square foot, whereas in Santa Cruz, especially with all the recent fires we've had, the labor shortages, the increased cost of materials, the average reconstruction cost is now $350 per square foot and up.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that.
They don't know that. Yeah, our market is so unique, and it really is quite an outlier. So that's really important. A lot of folks just want to roll it right into their Geico policy or their existing homeowners insurance, and that's just not really the best avenue to take.
Right, and just going back to Santa Cruz, we're so blessed. It's such a wonderful place that we live in, but it is a lot different from other areas, and that's why people want to work with an experienced realtor who knows the ins and outs of the area, but also an insurance agent that knows the ins and outs of the area, because you want to have an agent that will actually come out and inspect your home. This is a very complicated environment. We've got high fire line scores, which make it difficult. We also have a lot of flood zones, which increase the difficulty. Oh, and by the way, we've got to worry about earthquake insurance as well. So, you want to make sure you're working with someone that's going to go out and inspect the home and find the right policy that's going to cover all those things for the home. Because what happens a lot of times is that people just roll their own policy over. Here's the deal. Any insurance agent can provide you an evidence of insurance so that you can get your loan. But what then will happen is the company comes out, does an inspection, and goes, oh my gosh, we're not going to touch this because of this, that's, or that, right? And then all of a sudden you have your policy canceled on you 30 days later.
Exactly.
And you're scrambling.
Yep, you're up in Felton, up in the mountains, or down in Watsonville. And that's another good point to consider, is that Santa Cruz County is so unbelievably diverse. You've got Corralitos and Watsonville, which are one microclimate. Then you've got San Lorenzo Valley, a completely different animal. Right. So yeah, you really need to have somebody out there that's looking out and knows exactly what they're looking at.
Right.
Yeah. So, Will, in Santa Cruz County, we are a place where people love to come and take a vacation. A lot of homeowners are using VRBO and Airbnb to rent out their houses to these people. How does the insurance play into that? I mean, I imagine that affects it very much. How does that work?
You're right. It does, and most people wouldn't think of that, right? But it's actually a huge issue. A lot of insurance companies it's a relatively new thing that's happening.
You're right.
So companies are trying to figure out, hey, how are we going to do this? There's a tremendous additional liability by you not being in your house and renting it out to people, and that's not what a traditional homeowner's policy is set up to cover. So what a lot of people don't realize is that if they've had their homeowner's insurance for a while, they've turned that extra room into an Airbnb. If something happens when that Airbnb has been being rented out, depending on what company they have, there might be no coverage.
Oh, wow.
So it's really, really important to review with an agent, hey, if I'm going to be doing this, what coverage do I need?
Sit down and really discuss.
And I've run into a lot of people who have come to me and said, hey, I'm starting to do this. What do I need? Here's who I have. And fortunately, I haven't had any horror stories yet, but I definitely have run into a lot of people where that was exactly the case. If there'd been a fire or if there'd been something that happened while they were renting it out, they would have had no coverage with their current company.
Yeah.
So something to really be aware of when you're trying to make a little bit of extra income, you don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish.
Right, exactly. And that's something good, for me in my business to really discuss, because I do work with a lot of investors that come over here and they're looking for either vacation home that maybe family members will be using or friends will be using, or they're going to VRBO or Airbnb. So it's something I need to identify and make sure they look into.
Right, and that's something that is a great additional value add that you can give to your customers, because there's so many unique situations.
Oh,
it might be, we come for the summer, but then we do one long-term rental, but then we do short-term rentals, and all of those things, there can be gotchas depending on which insurance policy you have. So you need to make sure that you have the right policy so that whatever you're trying to do with this property, with you, your family, your renters, etc., if something does happen, we're going to have the right coverage in place for you.
Could you tell us about some pitfalls maybe of going with the cheapest, and maybe an example of something that can happen?
Sure, gosh, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the true cost of an insurance policy is what's not covered when something happens, right? So we don't want to put our clients who are trusting you, they're trusting you to find that perfect home for them. We don't want to put them in a position where they're saving a couple bucks up front thinking they're getting a great deal, but then if something does happen, they come up a couple $100,000 short.
Right.
And there's a lot of ways that can happen. And one thing that's really different that most people would never think about, that I think is important for you can tell your clients, is this, that you buy a brand new house, you've worked really hard, we've got it all set up, all your ducks are in a row. I can insure that new house perfectly. But if you're still running around with your vehicles with state minimums and you get into an at-fault auto accident and you hurt someone, well, guess what? That brand new house that you just bought, doesn't matter how well it's insured.
Poof.
Say goodbye.
That's right.
So that's why it's so important to work with a agent that is going to not only insure the house, but also ask you those questions of, hey, well, what else do we have going on in your life? What other assets are we trying to protect? Let's make sure that you can stay in this brand new beautiful house that you just bought.
Absolutely. And that goes into what we were discussing earlier, where you're not just looking at the immediate cost or the immediate goal. You need to look long term and look out to the future, so it's best. And what's really nice is that when you get a professional like you at the front end of the deal, at the very beginning, it seems daunting when you're thinking, you're talking mortgage, and you're looking at home inspections and all this stuff, and it seems like your head's just going to explode with everything you need to do. But the nice thing is that when you work with professionals right away, pull them in. That's our job. Our job is to make it easier for our end user, for our client. So it's your job to really sit and figure out what's the best game plan and how can I best protect my client. And that really takes the load off the client's shoulders.
Yeah, and what I like to offer to my clients is I just let them know, hey, look, with your permission, I'm happy to just interface with the lender for you. You can be out of the picture. We'll get this completely taken care of. Obviously you have the final say on everything, but I know you've got enough stuff to worry about. I can take care of all this behind the scenes for you. We can get it settled. So
and that's really nice.
A nice thing.
Yeah, you're really providing a service.
Right, and I always love to circle back, within a few weeks after they've purchased the home, they've settled down. It's like, hey, let's just review everything, make sure everything's all buttoned up exactly the way you want it.
Yeah.
But they don't need to stress about every single detail right up front while they're trying to get that house. So
Exactly.
that's an important thing to know, is that they don't have to have everything perfectly finished right then and there.
Right. I love that. And it's really nice, that one-on-one personal relationship, because so many things you could just go online. You could just go to geico.com, you could just go to progressive.com or whatever, and bing, bang, boom, put in your numbers and come up with a quote. But it's so important to have somebody local and in person that can really take care of you. And that's something that you provide.
Well, and we're all unique. We all have different lives. We all have different things, and most people are not cookie cutter where I can just, check that box, check that box. Check, well, yeah, that's exactly what I need. That's perfect. And I run into that all the time where, people have this quote. I say, well, that's great, but you are in this profession. Your kids are doing this. So have you thought about this or this or this? And they go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was potentially an issue. So that's why it is so important to work with a trusted local professional that really knows what they're doing and can look out for your best interest.
Absolutely.
All the way around.
All the way around.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, Will, for coming out here and discussing a little bit. And if you ever need an insurance quote or want to get an idea of what Will can do for you, go ahead and get in touch. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you.
Yeah,
and thank you so much for joining us.
Right on. Appreciate it.